Most of the third season, this season, focuses on the 7-step process of becoming more trusted. In the third episode, I went over step 1, identifying one relationship where you want to be more trusted. In episode 4, step 2, we identified one bad thing that you're doing that's holding you back from being more trusted. In episode 5, we went through step 3, which is identifying a good habit that you're going to use to replace the bad habit, and also how do you turn it into a SMART action plan. In this episode, I'll talk about the fact that it's hard. It's hard to create a new habit that you're not used to. It's hard to stop a bad habit that you are really used to and is automatic. So I'm going to give you 6 methods that will make it easier. And sometimes that little change of making it a little easier is going to help you form this habit and make it automatic. Stay tuned. Welcome to The Trust Show. I'm your host, Yoram Solomon, a researcher of trust and the author of The Book of Trust. In this podcast, I will share with you everything that I know and discovered about trust. I will challenge you to think differently about trust. But not only will I teach you about trust, I will also give you actionable advice on how to build trust, be trusted, and know who to trust. It's almost like I'm reading the Book of Trust to you, but with no holding back and no BS. So let's increase the probability of this new habit becoming automatic, really becoming a habit. So I'm going to give you 6 methods here. The first one is going to be, how do we fill the void while keeping the same trigger? And I'll talk more about each one of them. The second is friction control. How do we reduce or increase friction as appropriate? Third one is habit stacking. How do we stack this habit to another habit that's already a habit? 4 is going to be technical support. How do we use technology to help us? 5 is, how do we use a log to help us, the purpose, the importance of the log. And 6 is going to be, how do we use extrinsic motivation? And this might actually spill over to another episode because I'm trying to make those episodes not longer than 30 minutes. And unfortunately, I've already exceeded that in previous ones. So let's start. The first method to make the habit easier to form is what I would call filling the void and using the same trigger. If you know how habits work, and there's some great books about habits. Charles Duhigg wrote The Power of Habit, and that I think is one of the best books on understanding how habits are formed. And habits typically form when there is a trigger. So there is a trigger that causes you to do something. And what you want when you create a habit is to make this process automatic. So every time the trigger happens, bam, you do the thing that you wanted to form as a habit. So, but there's a reason why you did that thing, even if it was a bad thing. And it could have been the habit, typically it's the habit, or some kind of a need. So for example, one of the triggers that you have after you eat dinner, and I know that since I was a kid, my parents always told me that you want to have, right after you eat a very full meal, you want to have dessert, right? You want to have something sweet. There has to be something sweet at the end of the meal. And my guess is that you were probably taught that way. And you know, it's not like there is a scientific reason for it, or at least not one that I know, but that's what we do. You finished eating a good meal that's not sweet, and you must have something sweet at the end. So that's the trigger. The trigger is you finished eating a good meal. The problem is, if you're trying to lose weight, like I have and still am, kind of at the end of this second process, is that sweet thing that can double the amount of calorie intake that you took throughout the meal. So you're trying to avoid this. But when you try to avoid eating that sweet thing at the end of dinner, it leaves a void. And the reason it leaves a void is because there is a trigger, the end of the meal, and you need to fill it with something sweet. And if you don't, you leave a void. So what do? I replaced a high-calorie thing, dessert, with right now I'm using sugar-free bubble gum. Okay, icebreakers. I'm using icebreakers and they're sugar-free. They fill the same void and they're activated by the same trigger. So that's one thing. This is how forming habits work. You need to make sure that the same trigger can trigger that thing, that replacement thing. And that has to be a good thing instead of probably a bad thing that you were doing. Now, I'm talking about diet, but this applies to building trust. So there's something bad that you're doing. There's something that triggers that bad thing. If you want to stop doing that bad thing, you're going to leave a void. So the question is, how do we fill that void with something that's filled by the same trigger? Just like my sugar-free candy, or not candy, bubble gum replaces the sugar-full dessert that I used to have before. So, for example, for me, when the reason that I communicated with my team over email was because I needed to communicate with them. So I can't just stop communicating. There was a trigger, and the trigger was something was happening, and the habit that filled that trigger was I would send them an email, which we already know is not the ideal thing, and it caused them to not trust me as much. And I talked more about that when I analyzed why that was a bad habit in a previous episode of this podcast. So now I need to replace it with something else. So the trigger stays the same, but the communication method is replaced. So I have filled that void. I replaced sending an email with going to see them. Same trigger, not leaving a void, replacing bad with good that responds to the same or is activated by the same trigger. So that's the first method I'm going to give you, and that's filling the void left after the trigger once you take out the bad habit that you had. Second method I'm going to give you is I call it friction control. So how do we control the friction? How do we reduce or increase the friction? So I'll tell you a story. Back in 2005, I bought a racing motorcycle, a Honda CBR 600RR, which is a model that actually races, and I don't know how many times it won the MotoGP or Grand Prix of motorcycles. So it's a racing motorcycle. Don't worry, I never crashed it. And in fact, I got to the point where at the end, I was riding that motorcycle twice a year, one of which was to get the state inspection done. So obviously I didn't need a motorcycle. Or did I? Because it was really fun. It was fun to ride that motorcycle. So the way it started is after I had the motorcycle, I found a friend that had a motorcycle and we started riding our motorcycles every Sunday morning. That was really a lot of fun. Then that friend had back problems, not because of his motorcycle, but he had back problems and he bailed out on me. And so I had to ride all by myself, which was not that great. And then I found another friend and we started riding our motorcycles every weekend until he stopped riding his motorcycle. And, you know, sometimes it's hard to ride when it's too cold or too hot outside. And so I kind of stopped, but I didn't need a friend. The friend actually made it more fun to ride the motorcycle, but I didn't need a friend. So why did I stop riding the motorcycle? Well, the answer is actually that I have a 2-car garage at my house. And there are 2 cars in that garage, mine and my wife's. And there's no room for the motorcycle. So what I did, because you can't just leave a motorcycle, not a motorcycle like this, out in the street. I mean, first of all, you don't want to leave a motorcycle out to the elements, but you don't want to leave it out to somebody stealing the motorcycle either. So I built a little shed in my backyard to put the motorcycle in. It fit the motorcycle. The thing is, getting the motorcycle out of the shed was a chore. You had to open the shed and it wasn't very convenient getting into the shed and then pulling the motorcycle out, not running the motor yet, the engine yet, pulling it out, locking the shed again. So I have to get the leg down and lock the shed again, then open the door to the backyard and get the door to stay open, and then get the motorcycle down, then stop, leave it there, go and lock that door again, the door to the backyard. And the opposite when I was done, when I brought the motorcycle back. It was inconvenient. And what I call it is friction. It caused undue friction. Did I enjoy riding the motorcycle? Yes, I did. But that level of friction kind of got me to the point where I would think twice or even three times before I would go on the motorcycle for a ride. If I had a 3-car garage and the motorcycle would be there in the garage, I bet that I would ride that motorcycle way, way more than I did because of that friction that got me over the top of, I'm not going to ride it because I don't want to go through this process. It was just not enough. So probably it was not enough fun to ride a motorcycle to get me past that friction. But the point is that friction was kind of the make or break of why I ride the motorcycle or not ride the motorcycle. If you develop a website or apps or different electronic products, one of the things that you may know is that in order to make your product usable, you have to count how many clicks, how much effort the users have to put in to achieve a certain function. If you have too many clicks, users may not do that. Now, you may not lose 50% of your users to that functionality because there are too many clicks or there's too much friction. You may lose 20%, 10%. You know what? 1%. What if you lost 1% of your users simply because it was a little too hard, too much friction, one key press, one button click, too much for them to actually use that. That's how you reduce the friction. I'm going to mention this again, the Goldilocks rule. And the Goldilocks rule is, based on the Goldilocks story of, that bowl is too hot and this one is too cold and this one is just right. And this bed is too hard and this bed is too soft and this one is just right. So to form a habit, it can't be too easy and it can't be too hard. It has to be just right. And I talked about that when I talked about a SMART action plan. So you want to get your habit right there in that zone, but you actually want to get it at the high end of put enough effort. That makes that habit a little too close to it's too hard. And so eliminating that friction, if you're trying to build a good habit, you want to eliminate enough friction to build some distance between that habit and the point where it's just too hard and you're going to give up. If it's a bad habit that you want to stop, you want to build more friction, cause yourself to do more things in order to do that bad thing. That would cause you again. This time it's going to take you over the top and you're going to stop doing it. Just like the whole process of getting my motorcycle in and out of the shed in the backyard was just too much. And so I stopped. Method number 2, habit stacking. There's a great book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And I don't know if he's the first person to call it habit stacking, but I'm going to tell you a story. You go into the dentist twice a year to get your teeth cleaned, right? Don't answer that. The answer is yes, you go. And so I go twice a year, and not in the last time, the one before that, when I went to my dentist. You know how the dentist at the end of the tooth cleaning, he says, I'm going to give you a few samples of those toothpicks, soft picks, and I'm going to give you samples of this flossing wire string. And I want you to use them. What do you do when your dentist says that? You say, okay, I'll do it, right? I mean, that's what we do. And that's what I did, except for that time. 2 times ago when I did my teeth cleaning and he said that, I don't know, I was probably not in the mood that day. I was edgy and I just said, okay, let's stop playing this game. You know exactly what's going to happen, right? You're going to tell me to use the soft peaks. You're going to tell me to floss, and I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to have all the intentions in the world because I understand that it's good for me to do that. And it's good for my teeth. And it's going to reduce my dental expenses because I'm not going to need fillings or anything else. But I'm going to do it one day and then it's just going to vaporize. I'm not going to do it again. So let's not play this game. Let's not pretend that I'm going to say yes and then I'm really going to do it. He gave me one of the best advices ever. Here's what he said. And I want you to imagine this as well. Imagine that research showed that brushing your teeth, which is something hopefully you do twice a day, automatically you don't think about that. It actually feels very uncomfortable to not do it. Imagine if research showed that that is not healthy, or at least not healthy would be the extreme, but at least does not have the benefits that we thought it did. So it really doesn't matter if you brush your teeth or you don't. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have benefit. Can you stop brushing your teeth? No. I mean, it's just like taking your watch off your left hand. If you're wearing your watch on your left hand and putting on your right hand, it just does not feel right. You're used to something and you can't stop because it is a habit, because it's automatic, because you don't think about that. You just do it. So imagine if he told you to not brush your teeth anymore. You can't stop. So typically when he asks you to use the soft tip or to floss, he says you're doing it after you brush your teeth, right? For one day and then you stop. He said, I want you to change the order. I want you to do it before you brush your teeth. But here's how I want you to think about that. I want you to think about brushing your teeth as something that you need to earn the right to do. You don't just do that because you're entitled to. You need to earn the right. And the way you earn the right to brush your teeth is by, for me, in the morning, floss. At night, use the soft tip. So I have to floss so that I can brush my teeth in the morning. I have to use the soft tip so that I can brush my teeth in the evening. I have to tell you, I mean, I thought it was stupid. That it didn't make any sense. It's not going to change anything. I had another teeth cleaning since then. This was, I don't know, something like 10 months ago. There was not a single day that I did not both floss and use the soft tip before brushing my teeth. There was not even a single day. And we're talking 10 months now. The reason that happened was simply because I stacked it to another habit. I made it a condition. I didn't just stack it on another habit. I made it a condition to do something that I'm already used to. So think about that. Is there something that you can do? And I'm going to give you an example. So, for example, when I go on the treadmill, how do I make myself go on the treadmill? What I do is there are certain TV shows that I really love watching. SEAL Team on CBS and Paramount Plus is one of them. The West Wing, best TV show ever. Used to be on Netflix. Now I found it on HBO Max. I cannot watch those TV shows unless I'm on the treadmill. So I built myself this device, this mount right in front of the treadmill on the wall where I put my iPad. And this is the only place where I can watch those TV shows. And those are 42 minutes long. Add commercials. Now you're at about 50 minutes. And that's the time that I spend on the treadmill. I do 3 miles in 50 minutes. That's how I do it. You can do the math, 3.6 miles per hour. But I tie these two things together so that I have to earn the right to watch that TV show by doing that. So in the book, Atomic Habits, James Clear, he actually claimed that increasing that using or stacking the habits, stacking two habits together. And I don't know exactly how he did the research, but he came up with the number that it will increase the probability of forming that habit from about 35 to 38% probability of success of forming a new habit to 91%. There is another place where you can read about that, and that's actually a book from me. This was my second book ever. It's called Worst Diet Ever, and it was a book about how do you create a habit or habits that would allow you to lose weight. But that's a topic for maybe another episode. The third method, I like to call this one tech support. So call tech support to help you form a habit. It's actually call on technology to support you in forming a habit. And that is, there are different things. I mean, technology is all around our lives right now. I mean, heck, even I'm wearing a smartwatch, which I never thought I will, but there's technology all around us. Our smartphone is one of the best ones that's in our hand almost all the time. Our laptop, our computer is in front of us. So there's technology around us. So how can we use technology to help us? One of the easiest ways is to put it on the calendar. So I actually changed. Remember that my goal, my action plan was I'm going to meet with my 4 direct reports 30 minutes each once a week, right? That was my action plan. The thing is that it's very easy for this to get to Friday and realize that I haven't met with any of them. And then one of them is out of the office or I'm out of the office and it's just not going to happen this week. And so I missed it. Here's what I did. Monday morning, in order to earn the right, so I'm also attaching this to the previous method, which was habit stacking or conditioning. Maybe I should call it habit conditioning. Monday morning, in order to earn the right to check my email, I must first put the 4 meetings on my calendar for that week. That's the first thing that has to happen. So, my goal is no longer have those meetings. My goal, my action is to put it on the calendar, because if it's on the calendar, it's going to happen. Worst case is I'm going to move it around, but it's already on the calendar, and it's on the calendar Monday morning for the rest of the week. So it's not like I have to make all meetings Monday, but if I have to put them on the calendar, I have to find room for them, and I will. And obviously, when I put it on the calendar, I also see their calendar and see if there is availability on their calendar to when I want to put that. So there are other technologies you can use, different. There's an alarm clock. You can set an alarm clock for the same time every weekday, for example, not necessarily weekends. If you have a smartwatch, you can use the smartwatch app to remind you of things. There is an app that's available. I believe it's available for phones as well, but I'm using it on my computer. It's called Pomodoro. Pomodoro is this technique that I learned a few years ago that says if you want to focus on something and avoid distractions, you need to do that in chunks of time. So, for example, 25 minutes. I think they found that 25 minutes is kind of the ideal time frame. And so this app, or I'm actually using a portal, and I say start 25 minutes. And for 25 minutes, no distractions. Absolutely no distraction. 100% focus. And at 25 minutes, it says, okay, your 25 minutes are up. And now I can stop the focus, allow distractions, check email, check, Facebook or whatever it's called now, or anything else. And then I'm going to start that timer again for another 25 minutes of complete focus. So that's how we can use that app, for example. It's kind of funny. I've seen that done with more Orthodox Jews. That you're not allowed to use equipment or even turn on lights during the weekend, during the Shabbat. And so a device was invented that's really a timer. It's an electricity timer so I can set up my lights to turn on in the evening and turn off in the morning without me actually doing it. So there are devices. I use the timer like this when I was traveling, so that people would think that there are people in the house, because, the lights would go on and then go off and so on. So there are devices, and just look around you and ask yourself, what is it that I can use, or what technology can I use to increase the probability that I will form this habit? The fifth method is that will make it easier for you to form a habit, is to start a log, to log what you're doing. There are different purposes. There are different reasons why having a log or using a log will help you. I'm going to count some of them, but I'm sure you can think of other reasons yourself. One of them is that it makes it real. Sometimes, it ain't real until you actually write it on paper. And I would recommend, by the way, actually writing using a pen or a marker on a board or a piece of paper, rather than it's in my computer. And you'll see another reason why logging works. The second thing is it reminds you. Obviously, it reminds you when it's visible, when you can see it. You look at it and you go, oh, that just reminded me. I still need to do that. I haven't done it this week or today. So it's a good reminder. It keeps you honest. You look at it and, if you didn't do it, you didn't write it, and it's right there in front of you saying you didn't do it this week, or not yet this week or today. The next one is it makes it visible, not only to you. I already mentioned that making it visible. Again, if it's not like a spreadsheet that's hidden well in your computer and you never opened that spreadsheet, and as well as I do that we have plenty of those. We have spreadsheets, we have all kinds of project management software and apps that are in our computer that we never open them, because if we did, we will see all the things that we missed and should have done, all kinds of task lists. So it has to be something that's visible to you. So it will be, poking you in the eyes. You have to do that. But it's also good that it's visible to others. And you have to be careful with what you put there. But when it's visible to others, it kind of creates some kind of an accountability. It's not going to be in the next episode. The next episode is going to give you the sixth factor or method that would help you increase the probability. But on the next episode, the episode after that, I'll talk about accountability partners. So that's another reason why you want to have that. But I'll talk about that later. In general, just the fact that others can see it adds a level of accountability. But as I said, I'll talk about that later. What do you log? What do you put in that log? Well, first of all, you got to put some kind of a date or a time period. The week of, we're entering the week of November 8th. So the week of November 8th. Or you can, if this is a daily, then actually put the date. For my weight loss, my log actually have the dates, the specific dates. Actually, my latest log looks a little different. So I have the week, but then I have 7 boxes for every day in that week. So essentially, it's for every day. But I used to have it per day. And then what you put is the detail of what you've done. In weight loss, it's a pretty binary. I was under or over, or you can just write what was your weight. And that's another possibility as well. So write the measurement, write the detail, and grade yourself. So when you look at that, it shouldn't be something that you have to think about, wait, so is this a good metric or a measure? The specific measure, is this a good one or was it bad? I'm trying to remember, especially with weight loss. I mean, obviously, you have a certain weight that you can be at on a certain date or a week or a month, and it changes over time. So now you have to think about that. So really put a grade. And we talked about the grade when we talked about the measurable part of S.M.A.R.T action goals in the last episode. So grade yourself. And to me, right now, I know if you looked at what my chart looks like, my weight loss chart looks like, there is the week off, there is the weight. So I gave myself a certain weight for every week. And when I started, it was 2 pounds less every week. So I started it here. Vulnerability is coming out. I started at 226. And so the following week, that week, every day that week, I had to be under 226. The following week, every day, I had to be under 224, then 222, and so on. Right now, I'm at a 1 pound because I'm kind of at the end. I need to be under 204. And so the following week, it's going to be 203. So the entire week, and that's how I decided to do that there's no right or wrong here. That's what works for me. So there's 7 boxes. And really, I don't put the weight that I had every day. All I do is only put a check mark or an X. I'm very fortunate I don't have any X's there. It's just a little check mark that says, yes, today I was under the allowed weight limit. And therefore, I can do whatever I need to do. But that's in the next episode, the motivation that I used. So, let's say that what I need to do is have those meetings, 4 meetings with my 4 direct reports for 30 minutes every week, once a week each. So that chart would look like the week off. So let's say November 8th, and I'm going to have 4 boxes for the 4 names. So I call them John, Kate, Mike, and Jane. So for each one of them, I can either write the metric for that specific person. So like, how long did I meet with them? 0 would mean that I didn't meet with them. 32 would mean that I did. Or I can grade each one of them separately. But then I'm going to have, since my goal is not just to meet, I don't have 4 goals of meeting one person for 30 minutes every week. I have 1 goal of meeting all 4. Because really, if I met 3 of them consistently every week, but I did not meet one of them even once, that's not a good outcome. So really my goal is to meet all 4 of them every week. So my grade is related to meeting all 4 of them every week. So I can decide what does that mean. And maybe A is I met all 4 of them. B is I met 3 of them. C is I met 2 of them. And F is I met 1 or less than 2. So that's what the log is going to look like, and again, with all the benefits. There is one more item, one more method that would help you and really significantly help you turn this into a habit or form a new habit, and that is the use of extrinsic motivation. But I'm going to talk about that in the next episode. What would you like to know about trust and trustworthiness? Let me know and I'll answer it in a future episode. I would love to hear from you. Email me at yoram@thetrustshow.com. If you like this episode, subscribe to the show so you will automatically get notified when I release a new episode. Rate it, write a review for this podcast, because those ratings help not only you, but also others looking for podcasts just like this. If you're looking for more resources to learn about how to build trust, be trusted, or know who to trust, look up my workshops at yoramsolomon.com/workshops, online courses at trustedatwork.com, find my books on Amazon, or go to my website, yoramsolomon.com. And remember one thing, the answer to these 2 questions will have the biggest impact on your personal and professional success or failure. Can I trust you? And can you trust me? Thank you for listening or watching The Trust Show.